Welcome to Globewise Entertainment. Today, we're diving into the wildest, most shocking, and absolutely unhinged films ever made. Movies so outrageous that there's no way they'd ever be released today. From grotesque horror to absurdly dark comedies, these films push every boundary imaginable. If you haven't subscribed to Globewise Entertainment yet, hit that subscribe button now and join our family of movie lovers. After watching, tell us in the comments, which of these jaw-dropping films shocked you the most? Let's get started. 11. Ken Park, 2002. The rawest shock in cinema history. Imagine a movie so brutally honest, so raw in its portrayal of teenage angst and family dysfunction that it was instantly banned in multiple countries, and today, it would never see the light of day in theaters. That's Ken Park, 2002, the controversial masterpiece from Larry Clark and Ed Lachman. Set in the suburbs of California, the film follows a group of teenagers navigating the darkest corners of adolescence, neglect, abuse, and the twisted ways adults fail the young. Unlike anything Hollywood would dare to produce today, Ken Park refuses to sugarcoat reality. Its unfiltered exploration of sexual awakening, violence, and emotional trauma makes it simultaneously shocking and painfully real. What makes it truly unhinged isn't just the subject matter, it's the fearless honesty. Clark's camera doesn't just watch, it confronts you with the disturbing truth of a world many try to ignore. Every frame screams discomfort, forcing viewers to grapple with questions society often sweeps under the rug. Even now, Ken Park remains infamous, a film that dares to push boundaries so far that censorship seemed inevitable. It's a dark, unflinching look at teenage life, a cinematic dare that still haunts anyone who watches it. If you thought modern movies were edgy, think again. Ken Park set the bar for unfiltered storytelling, and it's a shock that it ever made it onto screens at all. Number 10. The Brown Bunny, 2003. Imagine a film so raw, so painfully intimate, that it made audiences squirm in ways few movies dare. The Brown Bunny, directed by and starring Vincent Gallo, isn't your typical road trip movie. On the surface, it's a simple story, a motorcycle racer traversing the highways of America, haunted by the ghost of a past love. But what makes it unforgettable and infamous is the jaw-dropping, unsimulated final scene that shocked critics and cinephiles alike. Audiences were divided. Some called it artistic brilliance, others labeled it indulgent and grotesque. It's a slow burn, almost meditative, with long, contemplative shots of desolate highways and isolated motels. But the notoriety came from that one scene that made headlines worldwide. A moment of cinematic audacity so extreme that you can't imagine a studio greenlighting it today. In a way, The Brown Bunny became a symbol of artistic freedom taken to its limit. It's the kind of movie that challenges you, unsettles you, and lingers in your mind long after the credits roll. If you've ever wondered what happens when a filmmaker completely ignores convention, this is it. Fun fact, at the Cannes Film Festival, the film was met with boos, but it also sparked debates about what cinema should be allowed to show. 9. Baise-moi, 2000. The controversy that shook French cinema. Imagine a film so raw, so shocking, that audiences left the theater unsure whether they'd just watched art or something else entirely. That's Baise-moi, the notorious 2000 French crime thriller directed by Virginie Despentes and Coralie Trinity. Based on Despentes' own provocative novel, the movie follows two women, Nadine and Manu, as they embark on a violent road trip fueled by revenge, rage, and raw desire. What makes Baise-moi absolutely unhinged? It's the unflinching mix of real sex and graphic violence, a combination that sent critics into a frenzy and sparked international bans. The film wasn't just controversial for shock value, it was a bold, grim exploration of alienation, trauma, and the dark side of liberation. Viewers were left unsettled, torn between fascination and disgust. In today's era of strict streaming guidelines and intense censorship, Baise-moi would almost certainly be labeled too extreme for mainstream release. Yet, for better or worse, it remains a daring time capsule of a moment when filmmakers pushed boundaries that Hollywood and global audiences would now consider untouchable. So, would you dare to watch Baise-moi for its unapologetic intensity, or is it one of those films that's too unhinged even for today's edgy cinema? 8. Visitor Q, 1991. The shockingly dark family portrait you can't unsee. If you think your family dinners are awkward, imagine one so twisted it would make a horror movie blush. Visitor Q, directed by Takashi Miike, is a film that throws every taboo and societal norm into a blender and hits puree. At its center is the Q family, a father obsessed with porn, a mother disconnected and detached, a son addicted to drugs, and a daughter caught in a whirlwind of abuse. Enter the mysterious Visitor Q, a seemingly ordinary stranger who infiltrates the family's life and becomes the catalyst for a series of shocking, grotesque, and downright absurd events. Incest, violence, bodily harm, and social satire collide in ways so audacious that even today, no major studio would dare release it. But here's the twist: as unhinged as it is, the film isn't just chaos for chaos' sake. It's a grotesque mirror held up to the dark corners of human behavior, forcing you to laugh, cringe, and question everything you thought you knew about family dynamics. Viewer discretion? Absolutely mandatory. In short, Visitor Q is a roller coaster of horror, comedy, and sheer madness. A film so taboo that its shock factor has made it a cult legend. If you love movies that test every limit, this is one you'll never forget. 7. I Am Curious, Yellow, 1967, Sweden's boldest shockwave. Imagine a film so daring, so politically charged, and so sexually explicit that it sparked courtroom battles and obscenity trials across the globe. That's exactly what I Am Curious, Yellow delivered when it hit screens in 1967. Directed by Vilgot Sjöman, this Swedish provocateur didn't just make a movie, he made a cinematic rebellion. Blurring the lines between documentary and narrative, the film follows Lena, a young woman exploring her own sexuality, politics, and social conscience. Viewers weren't just watching Lena, they were confronting raw discussions of class struggle, sexual freedom, and taboo intimacy. Nudity, sex, and explicit political dialogue weren't just present, they were essential to the story. When it arrived in the United States, I Am Curious, Yellow became a lightning rod. Censorship boards freaked out. The film was banned in several states, then fought its way through the courts. At one point, the U.S. Supreme Court was practically involved in the fight over whether Americans could see this Swedish phenomenon. Box office numbers? Astoundingly high. The controversy only fueled curiosity, turning it into one of the most talked about films of the decade. Today, the idea of a studio releasing something this politically and sexually incendiary feels impossible. Streaming platforms are bold, but would I Am Curious, Yellow really survive modern content standards without legal headaches and demonetization? Probably not. Yet its legacy lives on, a fearless experiment in mixing activism, intimacy, and cinema, a film that dared to ask, why shouldn't movies make us uncomfortable? Fun fact for your viewers, the movie's title comes from the way Lena wants to explore her curiosity about the world, politics, sex, and society. So literally, it's about being curious and yellow, a color often associated with youth and caution. 6. The Idiots, 1998. Directed by the fearless and controversial Lars von Trier, The Idiots is a cinematic roller coaster that flips every rule in the book. This Danish shockfest follows a group of adults who pretend to be mentally disabled in public to liberate themselves from societal norms. It's chaotic, uncomfortable, and unapologetically raw. Von Trier pushes boundaries with explicit scenes and provocative storytelling that even today would ignite outrage. Audiences are forced to confront their own prejudices while questioning what's real and what's performance. Every scene is designed to make you squirm, laugh nervously, and think, often all at the same time. Imagine trying to release a film like this today. in the era of social media backlash and strict content regulations, it would never make it past the first trailer. Yet, its audacity cements its place in film history as one of the most unhinged cinematic experiments ever made. If you think you can handle extreme storytelling, The Idiots is a must-see, but don't say we didn't warn you. 5. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. If there's a movie that earned a permanent spot in cinematic infamy, it's Cannibal Holocaust. This found footage shocker pushed boundaries so far that even today, it's whispered about in film circles as the ultimate test of stomach and nerves. The plot itself is deceptively simple. A documentary crew ventures into the Amazon to uncover the truth about isolated tribes, only to become trapped in a brutal cycle of violence. And yes, some of it is disturbingly real. What made it truly unhinged? Director Ruggero Deodato went beyond fake gore effects, filming scenes that were so realistic authorities actually believed actors had been killed on camera. He faced murder charges, lawsuits, and censorship in dozens of countries. Scenes of animal cruelty were so extreme that the film was banned worldwide and remains infamous in horror history. Watching Cannibal Holocaust today is like peeking behind the curtain of the darkest side of shock cinema. It's terrifying, controversial, and utterly unrelenting. A stark reminder of a time when filmmakers dared to cross lines that modern studios would never touch. Fans of extreme horror still debate, is it art or pure exploitation? Either way, it's unforgettable and unwatchable for most audiences without a strong constitution. If you think modern horror is shocking, trust us, this is on another level. Would streaming platforms ever let a film like this drop today? Absolutely not. For Kids, 1995. A shocking glimpse at teenage chaos. In 1995, Kids hit theaters like a cinematic hand grenade, leaving audiences stunned, outraged, and oddly fascinated. Directed by Larry Clark and written by Harmony Korine, this film didn't just tell a story, it pulled back the curtain on the raw, unfiltered lives of teenagers in New York City. Forget Hollywood's sanitized version of adolescence. Kids exposed a world of reckless partying, substance abuse, and sexual experimentation, all through the eyes of a group of 12 to 16-year-olds. The film's graphic realism, including a shocking portrayal of teen sexuality and STDs, made it instantly controversial. Many theaters refused to screen it, and critics were divided between labeling it exploitative and calling it a social wake-up call. What makes Kids so unhinged isn't just the shocking content, it's the way the film immerses you directly into the chaos, almost like you're wandering the streets with these teens, witnessing the consequences of their choices without commentary or judgment. Today, a movie like this would likely spark massive outrage, social media storms, and possibly get blocked by streaming platforms before release. Yet, that raw honesty is exactly why Kids endures as a cult classic. It's a cinematic time capsule of the 90s, showing us a side of youth culture Hollywood rarely dared to depict. Unflinching, uncomfortable, and unforgettable, Kids is the kind of film that proves sometimes truth in cinema is wilder than fiction. Fun fact for your audience, despite the uproar, Kids launched the career of a young Chloe Sevigny and cemented Harmony Korine's reputation as a provocateur in indie filmmaking. 3. The Devils, 1971. When cinema went absolutely off the rails. Imagine a film so audacious, so scandalous, that it shook entire nations, and would be utterly impossible to release today. That's The Devils, 1971, directed by the fearless Ken Russell. Loosely based on historical events in 17th-century France, the movie dives headfirst into church corruption, sexual obsession, and political intrigue. What makes it unhinged? Picture nuns possessed by lustful visions, a priest caught in a whirlwind of scandal, and graphic imagery so shocking that censors across the globe tried, and often succeeded, to ban it. Scenes of religious hysteria and blasphemy were edited in some countries, while in others, the film was condemned as outright heretical. Audiences either walked out stunned or couldn't stop talking about it for weeks. Russell's fearless direction, combined with extraordinary performances by Oliver Reed and Vanessa Redgrave, created a cinematic experience that's part horror, part historical drama, and all chaos. It's a film that refuses to tiptoe around sensitive subjects, something today's studio system would never dare touch. Why it's a must-see today. The Devils isn't just controversial for shock value, it's a masterclass in fearless filmmaking. Every frame screams rebellion against censorship, making it one of the most unforgettable films of the 1970s. 2. Deep T, 1972. The film that took shock value too far. Imagine a film so audacious, so bizarre, that even in the freewheeling 1970s it made audiences squirm in their seats. That was Deep T, a cult classic that dared to mix raunchy comedy, adult themes, and over-the-top absurdity in a way Hollywood would never greenlight today. At first glance, the premise seems simple: a man, a mysterious T, and a series of wild, unpredictable escapades that escalate into pure chaos. But what made Deep T unforgettable and notorious was its refusal to play it safe. Scenes that blurred the line between comedy and outright shock, paired with audacious performances, made it a cult sensation and a perfect example of why the movie industry has strict content boundaries now. Critics at the time were split. Some called it hilariously irreverent, while others labeled it unwatchable. Yet, decades later, Deep T remains a fascinating relic, a glimpse into an era where filmmakers could push limits in ways unimaginable today. Watching it now is like peering into an alternate Hollywood universe, chaotic, provocative, and utterly unhinged. For modern viewers, Deep T is both a curiosity and a warning. Some films are so outrageous, so boundary-pushing, that they could never survive the cultural and legal scrutiny of today's box office. And that's exactly why we love them. 1. Caligula, 1979. The Roman Empire gone wild. Imagine stepping into ancient Rome, but stripped of every moral filter and decency. That's exactly what Caligula does. Directed by Tinto Brass and produced by Penthouse's Bob Guccione, this film wasn't just a historical epic, it was a full-blown scandal on celluloid. Caligula chronicles the infamous reign of the Roman emperor who took power in the 1st century, indulging in absolute decadence, power, and cruelty. The film's shocking explicitness, ranging from sexual excess to grotesque violence, was so extreme that it triggered riots, bans, and an outcry from critics worldwide. Even today, its notoriety makes viewers squirm, gasp, and whisper, "How did this even get made?" What makes it truly monetizable for audiences today? It's the combination of historical drama and boundary-pushing adult content, a tantalizing, so bad it's good experience that thrives on curiosity. It's a film that dares you to look away while exploring the darkest corners of power and lust. In today's market, no studio would touch this with a 10-foot spear, making it a legendary what-if of cinema history. Fun fact, the film starred Malcolm McDowell, Helen Mirren, and Peter O'Toole, giving it serious acting credibility despite its outrageous content. It's the perfect blend of highbrow talent and lowbrow shock, an unforgettable recipe for controversy. So, if you think modern movies push the envelope, take a peek at Caligula, where every line between art, excess, and pure insanity is blurred and then shattered completely. That's a wrap on 11 absolutely unhinged films that would never be released today. Which of these jaw-dropping, boundary-pushing movies shocked you the most? Drop your pick in the comments. We love hearing your thoughts. If you haven't joined the Globewise Entertainment family yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into wild, cult, and forgotten film gems. Trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Stay curious, stay entertained, and we'll see you in the next video.